Self-love. What is it? And how do we do it? Hi, my name's Kirby. I'm an attachment and trauma specialist. I shoot these videos every day to try to help people through the most difficult and challenging bits of their life, and so that we can all kind of move towards a place of secure, happy freedom and beautiful, lasting relationships. We can all get there. It's just how do we do it, right? And that brings us to today's topic, which is self-love. And this one's particularly poignant for me because when I started this journey years ago, I remember reading or seeing some interview with Marshall Rosenberg where he was pushing for this idea that we rename codependency. We get rid of the title codependency and we change that name to self-love deficiency syndrome, because he says it describes it more accurately, which it actually does. And I totally agree with him now. But man, back then, I didn't know what the hell that meant. So I'm reading all these books, listening to podcasts, seeing interviews with experts on the internet, and sometimes not experts. Sometimes it's just a bunch of neat people sitting around a podcast talking about this stuff. And they're like, yeah, we need more self-love in our life. You just need to find a way to have more self-love. This relationship problem that you've got is because you have a deficit of self-love. Okay. What? What does that mean? I hear the words you're saying. All the words you're saying make sense. Even the way you're linking them together makes sense. But I still don't have the slightest clue how to implement this thing that you're talking about. Okay, let's break it down and be like, okay, I love this other person. I love this other person a lot. It's like, do I love myself? Sure, I'm pretty cool. I've done some amazing things in my life. I've had some great accomplishments. I've done some things that I'm very proud of. Done some things I'm not proud of. But I still have compassion and patience for myself. So is that love? I mean, I think about how I feel towards myself when I look in the mirror. It's kind of meh. But I think about that other person, my partner, girlfriend, whatever, my crush, and the feelings I have around that person are like, like this super exciting, super craving, super wanting, super desiring. I'm like, okay, those are not the same. So does that mean I have a lack of self-love? Or does it mean I just love them too much? What's going on here? I'm trying to bring you through this journey that I went through, because it's now that I work with people all the time, I see it all the time. And I see people that are in this place where they're doing things in life. They're proud of their accomplishments. They've got some great skills. They've got some great self-awareness. They've got some great whatever, right? Lots and lots of positive traits. But do they have self-love? Does it even matter? It does. And unfortunately, the way that it does is not really quantifiable. You can tell a person that's got this inner confidence, self-prioritization, self-love, whatever we're going to call this. If you meet someone that's been living with that skill for quite some period of time, you'll notice it. You'll see that their life is different. You'll see that their attitude towards self is different. You'll see that their patience for their mistakes is much greater. Their tolerance for stress is higher than mine. But now let's go spend time with someone where we're going to say their self-love is low, whatever self-love means. And what we see is chronic anxiety, depression, self-attacks, negative view towards self, really low self-esteem, lots of difficulty in social situations. Sometimes even just walking down the street by yourself is just this filled with anxiety. Anxiety is a hallmark trait. The relationships are usually codependent, highly enmeshed, very dramatic, traits of extremely high euphoria and extremely low depression. And then we're going to say, okay, this person has a low self-love. We still don't even know what it means yet. See, this is where I was at. I was like this for years. I'm like, what the F do you even mean? Aren't there other ways that we can describe this? Turns out there are, but they get like really convoluted really fast. And we've kind of like taken a lot of different kind of diffuse concepts and kind of mashed them together under this idea of self-love. So we're still struggling. We're still struggling to find a definition. So at one point, I find some expert on the internet who's actually engaged in their community and responding to messages and stuff. And I like go to this community and I'm just like, okay, I'm really struggling to understand this concept of self-love. I've watched your videos. I read these books, blah, blah, blah. Can someone give me some advice? And some of the advice will come back and be like, maybe you should just take yourself out on a date. What the F does that even mean? Do I get dressed up? Okay, I can do that. Do I go to a nice dinner? Sure. Do I order one plate of food or two? Do I jump back and forth between, like kind of Robin Williams style? Or do I, or am I just there by myself? Like if I'm just there by myself, like then I'm not taking somebody else on a date. Boy, I feel like a loser. I'm in this nice Italian restaurant. I did this. I'm in this nice Italian restaurant sitting by the window. I even got the nice little window seat in the little cubby, looking out over the, the sunset and whatever. And here's this dude. My voice in my brain says, this loser. Here's this loser sitting here by himself. Okay, guys, this isn't working. I took myself on a date and I went home more depressed, like more distraught, more sad. Okay, that didn't work. Someone else is like, well, do something really special for yourself. Like kind of maybe go get some nice candles that you like and put them around the bathtub and take a nice long bath. Again, what? So these people that are having this like awesome life and are connected with self and everything, and confident and talking to new people and taking on financial challenges, risks, business, whatever, right? They're taking on the challenges of life that seem to be effortless in the way they do it. That the answer to that is that they're taking a bath with smelly candles. No, that doesn't, okay, but I'll try it. And so I try it and I'm just like, okay, like I'm tall, so I usually don't even fit in bathtubs. So that wasn't so awesome. I mean, it's nice, comforting, whatever. Other people are like, go get a massage. Okay, so I'll go do that. And I'm just like, oh, I remember in the darkest moment, I'm lying there, the massage begins, and I start crying in the little, face pillow thing. And I'm just like, oh yeah, that's how awesome I am. I have to pay someone to actually touch me, to actually have any kind of contact with another human being. I have to pay them. Boy, I feel like a loser, right? Raise your hand if this resonates with you. So going through all that and then slowly, incrementally researching more, studying more, trying to understand this stuff better. And I I stretch myself and I push myself into new places, new challenges, new whatever. I actually fly across the world and go to a place that's like really quite hazardous. Very, very dangerous. Lots of things trying to kill you. And in that, I found situations where I had to rise to the occasion. I had to navigate and find a solution for a tribe of baboons that was on the verge of ending me. I had to face corrupt police. I had to do a midnight car chase through a rural town to get away from said corrupt police. I had to, endure a robbery where they took everything I owned and then go through insurance and filing papers and community support and everything. It's like I'm facing all these great, big, difficult, life-threatening challenges. And oddly enough, I start feeling really good about myself. I'm just like, yeah, I feel great. I feel alive. I feel like I'm on top of the world. I'm like, oh, is that it? Is this the answer to self-love? Is that put myself in dangerous situations and then overcome them and survive? And when I do that, I'm just like, yeah, I'm Conan the Barbarian or whatever bizarre egoic response that we have to that. I'm just like, is that self-love? Like I sure feel good. Like I feel now the way that I thought that those other guys felt. Those other guys that had it all together. I look at myself now and the feelings that I have inside, and I feel like what I projected onto them. So maybe that's it. Maybe that's the answer. I'm healed now. I've got it. Well, we should be so lucky. No. Like, get me away from the drama and the the cortisol spikes and the adrenaline highs and the survival instinct hijack overloads. Get me away from the rush, and I come back to a normal everyday life, working in an office in some small town in America, and it's got all the same drama and total interpersonal BS and everything else, and I'm crash into a deep dark depression, and I'm just like, this sucks. I hate my life. So obviously, I'm like, wait, so if fighting off baboons was my answer to self-love, then I must have found it, right? Except I didn't find it, and I still don't have it, and I'm back in the dark place again. So what's going on here? What did I miss? Okay, that's some of my personal journey. As ridiculously comic as it sounds now, those are things that are actually happened to me. Throughout this entire time, I'm studying attachment theory, which eventually leads to kind of neurophysiology, and kind of different locations of the brain chemistry, not chemistry, more brain physiology, like different subcortical structures, what they're responsible for, how the patterns fire. I'm by no means an expert, by no means a professional level at reading fMRIs or anything. It's more like the conceptual stuff. And so I'm studying all this stuff and putting pieces together, and then I find a new researcher or teacher or whatever, and things begin to start making sense. But throughout it all, I am involved with a teacher that talks a lot about the subconscious, but then they'll also talk about the inner child. And then I'm like, okay, well, now we've got another thing. I don't know what the hell you're talking about. What even is an inner child? And I poo-pooed that idea for a long time. And then there was a day in the dark space that I turned inward, and I just said, okay, let's just consider the possibility for a moment that there is such a thing as an inner child. Because for decades up to that point, I refused to believe that that was such a thing. We don't have a subcortical structure for that. We don't have an official psychological paradigm for the inner child. We don't have, academia doesn't really have this, at least not that I found. So why would I entertain this idea? Well, when many, many things don't bring positive change, our brain widens and we begin to accept more possibilities. So I'm accepting a wider possibility. And so I go inward, and I kind of picture it as like this cave. And somewhere in there is this other entity, this thing that is somehow connected to me and gives me emotions, gives me thoughts, gives me feelings. I don't really fully understand it, right? And so I go into this cave, and I'm just like, is anybody here? Is there a thing that's in it? Is there a child that is living inside me that is a version of me that's at 5? Like, lots of resistance, lots of emotional no. So I keep in that space, and I keep kind of my, mentally imagine my arms kind of open, or at least willing to consider this idea. And then it was like something came to me, and the specifics get foggy because it was a very intense emotional experience, and our memories get foggy during those. Memories get foggy, but I remember that there was something that came to me. And then suddenly I am crying. Suddenly I have overcome with grief and sadness and just this devastating degree of heavy, body shaking sobs of disappointment, sadness, fear. And I remember the feeling it was just like, if there was a word that could be attached to that, it was finally. It was like, finally. You're here. Finally, I'm allowed. Finally, you're not hating me. And as soon as that happened, I was just like, oh yeah, I did hate you. You're the emotional part. You're the part that gets dysregulated. You're the part that loses his shit and then like sets my life on fire when I'm having a bad day. I used to refer to it as my gremlin, and there was a legitimate period of time where I'm just like, is this what possession feels like? That like I'm walking around my day, do, and then something happens, some criticism or a conflict with someone or whatever, and then it's like I would just go to sleep, and then this thing, my gremlin, would like take over, and it was mean and angry and just break stuff sometimes, and then I would wake up and things I'd said or done were irretrievably, they could not be undone, right? And friendships are lost, relationships are damaged, trust is broken, some stuff is broken. Luckily, I'm a pacifist at heart, so there's at no point did the gremlin ever reach out to the point of attacking another person or animal for that matter. But like, stuff, laundry hampers, they were they were fair game. Chairs and windows, they were fair game. So what I'm getting at here, I'm kind of this long convoluted story to kind of help you understand just how confusing it is to be in a place where you are fully and completely, totally disconnected from, we'll call it an inner child, whatever this thing is inside us that is the seat of our emotions. Because when you really think about it, emotions arise kind of out of nowhere. I don't sit there and think, I'm just like, oh, I'm going to be sad now. Or, hey, let me look at I'm going to schedule my anger time for 3:30 p.m. Could you just wait a minute? No. They like arise from somewhere that we do not control, that we do not have awareness of. And they just kind of show up in our body and in our mind. And now it's happening, right? We don't really have a whole lot of options. We can suppress and numb out and dissociate and all a bunch of other things, which are all tools to basically deal with the fact that we have no control in this situation, right? So there's this thing there that is the author of emotions. It is the thing that generates them, puts them together, and then percolates them up through whatever layers are there, and then they show up in our conscious mind. To summarize all that, we can call it an inner child, because whatever that thing is, it seems to have the emotional processing power of about a 5 to 7-year-old child, sometimes younger, sometimes older. And that child is very short-sighted, short-tempered, scared. Whatever that thing is, it's generating emotions, delivering them to me, and I am out of connection with it. Whatever that thing is, it is the seat of emotions. It generates them and gives them to me, and I do not have a relationship with it. And so I am profoundly disconnected from this thing, whatever it is. And I am bumbling through life, and I am anxious, I am confused, I am lonely, I am depressed, I am sad much of the time. I have a continuous state of physiological activation, reaction, all the signs of trauma response, frozen fingers, dilated pupils, tension in the solar plexus, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not in good shape. And then here's this thing, which I didn't even believe existed. But the moment that I kind of opened myself to it and allowed the possibility to be there, it showed up. And it showed up with a sadness that you would expect from a 5-year-old child that had been neglected, abandoned, and abused for years and years and years. That child finally shows up, comes close, says, I don't really trust you, but being here with you is so much better than being alone. And I'm so incredibly sad at how long I've had to be alone. So that was a day I learned something. How to formulate that into words is still something I'm working on years and years later. But it was a powerful, powerful experience. And from then onward, I began to integrate this thing that lives inside into my understanding of attachment theory, brain physiology, and trauma. Is there a structure for it? Subcortical structure? I don't know. Is there an area of the nervous system that is more that than something else? I don't know. Some theories say that this thing is in the gut, and they'll talk about the number of neurological connections and blah, blah, blah. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. And I don't think anybody does. But if you talk to virtually any human being that you can communicate with, and you spend 20 minutes with them, 2 hours, whatever, you spend some period of time with them exploring their emotional reality, and you can ask them, where do emotions come from? And is there something inside that gets angry sometimes, gets sad sometimes? And they will, virtually every single person you speak to will say yes. So here we have an experience that seems to be universal across all humans. So that suggests that it does have some kind of physiological element to it that we just don't understand yet. But the important part is it's universal across all humans. And then, okay, so now we've got this thing that everyone experiences. Now let's go talk to people who have spent time and energy and focus connecting with this thing that lives inside them. We can ask them about their life experience. We can ask them about the state and flow of their emotional reality, especially as they go through stresses. And it's like, wow, things are happening for you that aren't happening for me. Wow. And actually, I kind of like yours better than mine. What are you doing? And they'll talk about this, that, and the other, and I meditate and I do this, and maybe other spiritualism or whatever, right? And so there's a lot of different ways we can get there. And so that's kind of one of the places where this theory of the inner child can kind of fall apart, because it's like, well, we could explain some of these things in other ways. Okay, if you really want to go there, go there. But this one, this idea of the inner child is powerful, and it consistently pays good results. Like it consistently pays off when we invest in understanding and investment with that thing that lives inside me, that is the author of my emotions. Getting in touch with it, listening to it, spending time with it, cherishing it. I mean, if you watch my other videos, you know that I'm big on the 5 pillars of attachment, and this is a perfect example of where the 5 pillars of attachment play out in beautiful, beautiful consequence. This thing that lives inside me, can I give it a space where it feels safe? Can I attune with it? Can I be supporting and shameless and nurturing when it is dysregulated? Can I express delight for the fact that it merely exists, that it exists inside me, and that we are actually in relation together, that we are actually communicating? Can I express delight for that? Yes. And can I give it full autonomy to be and do exactly what it wants to be and do? Yes, I can. And in following these 5 pillars of attachment with this own thing, this inner child that lives inside me, something changes, something improves. In fact, many things improve. The emotions that it manufactures, the emotions that it assembles together and delivers to me begin to change. Triggers begin to go away. They are decrease in intensity and decrease in frequency. They're fewer and farther between. And when they happen, they're less dramatic, less epic, less overwhelming. Wow. Really? Yeah. Lived it, did it, bought the t-shirt, started selling them at festivals, start teaching them. Like, no, I'm joking. But this is a fundamental foundation of what I believe is at the root of attachment trauma and the mental health crisis that we're currently facing on this earth. Now, you'll notice I haven't mentioned self-love in quite a while. All of this is self-love. this process of seeking inward, looking inward and seeking out this thing that lives inside me that seems to have its own emotional experience and its own feelings and its own memories and everything else, seeking that out and saying, hey, I would like to be in relation with you. I would like to understand what brings you joy and what brings you fear. I would like to understand you better. I would like to be here and support you in the times that you feel like shit. This is the process of self-love. And it pays dividends. Like engaging in this process with intention, with focus, with a passionate desire and a kind of a lighthearted playfulness. Literally every time. Every single time I work with a client that reaches this point, like it's not just the ritualized exact things they do. They begin to understand and they begin to pursue that relationship and they begin to nurture that relationship and they begin to have this tolerant, patient playfulness with this 5-year-old that lives inside that is sometimes just a little emotional monster. They're like, that's just my inner child doing its thing again. I'll chill out in a second. It's just like, la, la, la. Hey, do you want a cookie right now? How about we go for a walk? And it's like, okay. And then you go for a walk with your own inner child and you come back. Every single time I've been involved with a human that has gone through this process and adopted this mentality, this belief, and then integrated it into their life and the way they interact with self, their life has improved. And not by a little bit. Their life has improved by very measurable, obvious ways. And this is one of the reasons why I say in my classes and talks and consultations and everything else, I'm like, you do this for 3 months, your life will be different. Guaranteed. There's literally, I've seen it happen too many times to think that it's a fluke or that there's even any other alternative. Like this will happen. But it's weird at first. And after you kind of get over the weirdness and you begin integrating it into this kind of daily routine of check-in and playful and how you doing and what are we doing today and what do you feel like? And it's like you really do have this 5-year-old that lives inside somewhere that is just sitting there playing with the dolls or Legos or blocks or whatever and just having a grand time. And every once in a while it's like, hey, I'm hungry. And you're like, okay, let me take care of you. Hey, I'm lonely. Okay, let me take care of you. Hey, I want your attention to come sit here with me as I play with my toys. And you're like, okay, I'll do that. Those lives improve consistently. It's like magic. And I cannot recommend it enough. And so I like to have simple phrases, right? And the simple phrase here that really kind of helps it drive it home and makes it simple for people to digest is that find a picture of yourself at 5 and then hold it right here in your hand. Look at him or her. And then say this: every day, in every way, I choose you instead of them. That's self-love. And engaging that process will change your life. For some people, it won't be everything, right? There's going to be more techniques, approaches, whatever to put on top of that. But it's just like, if you can really get into that, your life will change in a positive direction. And you're going to be like, whoa, I had no idea it was this simple. I had no idea what I was missing. I had no idea how much that little girl felt like, or boy, or whatever. I have no idea how much they were just sitting there feeling alone, unloved, abandoned, neglected. No wonder I felt lonely all the time. No wonder all my relationships were this mess of codependent enmeshment. I was sitting here clawing after connection and togetherness because that own thing that lives inside me has been lonely and neglected this whole time. And when I begin to build that relationship, practice the 5 pillars of attachment, stay connected, stay attuned, check in. Like when I begin to engage in that relationship as if it is a real live relationship in this world with another person, my own emotional space changes. And it's effing beautiful. Like it is incredible. It's incredible to witness. It's incredible to be a part of. It's incredible to go through it myself and just have amazing things happen and just like, wow, I am in a different world. Like my world is different. And all these things I thought were true, all these places where I was pointing blame and assigning cause and wounding and who's the bad guy and who's the victim, all that stuff is like, wow, my understanding of all of it was kind of messed up. And I realized that it's like this relationship right here is glorious. And the solidity of this relationship will carry me through so many stresses in life. And it allows me to step in and out of difficult situations with this like ease that is mind-boggling, because I don't need the approval, attention, whatever from other people. When it's there, I love it and I enjoy it for as much liveliness as I can. But every relationship ends, and when this relationship eventually comes to an end with these other people, I got this guy right here and we're having a grand old time. It brings us to a place of freedom. It brings us to a place of connectedness. It brings us to a place of this open-hearted, secure, playful interaction with life, which is literally almost every marker of positive mental health that we have. What's more to say? If you have any questions on this, leave a comment, shoot me a DM, whatever. I love connecting with you guys. I love answering questions. I love teaching this stuff. If this has been helpful, do the like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. It really helps the algorithm and me get seen by more people that need this message. Again, I'm Kirby, trauma and attachment specialist. And this is a message from my inner child to yours. You can do it. And there's just a little bit of fear between here and the most beautiful thing you've ever experienced. And I believe in you. Peace.